The city of Arinder glittered under twin suns, towers of crystal and metal stretching so high they seemed to touch the clouds. Hover vehicles zipped past, leaving streaks of light in their wake. The streets were full of aliens of all shapes and sizes, some with translucent skin, some with multiple limbs, some with eyes that glowed in shifting colors. Humans were rare. Most moved quietly, unnoticed, careful not to draw attention. Marcus Hale was one of those humans. He walked home from the maintenance bay where he worked, his hands streaked with oil, the scent of machinery clinging to his clothes. Being a single father in a city that didn't care for humans was difficult. His daughter had died years ago, leaving him alone with nothing but memories and work. Yet he still carried himself with quiet dignity. Humans might be small in number here, but Marcus refused to disappear. As he crossed the central square, he noticed a girl crouched near the fountain. Her skin shimmered pale blue, almost translucent, and her eyes were impossibly large. She clutched a small, ragged satchel, her legs folded beneath her as she watched other children. The other kids, aliens mostly, snickered and whispered, pointing at her. Her voice, when she tried to speak, sounded strange, high-pitched, and awkward to human ears. It was clear she did not belong. Marcus stopped. Most people walked past without a second glance, but something tugged at him. He saw the fear in her eyes, the shame, and the loneliness. It reminded him of his own childhood, of being small, weak, overlooked. He took a slow step forward. "Hey," he said gently. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up, startled, and tried to hide behind her satchel. I'm fine," she mumbled. Her voice cracked under pressure. "You don't look fine," Marcus said, kneeling slightly to meet her eyes. "Name's Marcus. What's yours?" "Lyra," she whispered. Her large eyes darted around nervously, fearing the ridicule she knew was coming. Marcus glanced at the circle of laughing children. "Ignore them," he said. "I've seen worse." Lyra's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, but the years of isolation had left scars. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever offered help without expecting something in return. Marcus could feel her hesitation, the walls she had built around herself. But he also saw something else, something small but bright. Curiosity. A hunger to belong. I can't sing like them," she admitted quietly. They laugh at me." Marcus nodded. "So you'll need training," he said. "Not just singing. We'll start small. Step by step." Her eyes widened. "You really want to help me?" "I do," he said. "I've dealt with machines that don't want to work. I've handled systems that everyone said were impossible to fix. You're just another problem waiting to be solved." His smile was kind but steady, full of quiet confidence. Over the next few days, Marcus found old human instruments in storage, guitars, flutes, even a small keyboard. He showed Lyra how to hold them, how to listen to a note and repeat it. At first, her attempts were awkward, shrill, and painfully off-key. Other children still laughed, watching her struggle, but Marcus stayed patient. He clapped when she got even a single note correct, smiled when her lips shaped a chord properly. Every small success became a small victory. Lyra's alien voice began to change under his guidance. She struggled, yes, but Marcus encouraged her, praising effort over perfection. The more she tried, the more determined she became. Her body relaxed, her eyes sparkled a little, and her fear began to fade. She laughed for the first time in public, a pure, fragile sound that surprised everyone, including her. Marcus worked with her every evening after his shifts. He devised exercises to strengthen her voice, teaching her rhythm using his own hands and tapping on the floor. He explained notes like puzzle pieces, showing her that music was logic as much as emotion. "You can control it," he said. "Even if it doesn't make sense to them, it can make sense to you." But not everyone was happy about this. Word of the human guiding the alien girl spread quickly. Some teachers whispered disapproval, alien parents shook their heads. "Humans don't understand our children," they said. "Leave her to her own species." Marcus ignored the warnings. He had seen the fear in Lyra's eyes, the despair of being dismissed and laughed at. And he had a stubborn human trait. He refused to walk away from someone who needed him. Late one night, after a particularly long session, Lyra finally held a note steady. Her eyes widened. Did I do it right?" Marcus smiled, pride swelling in his chest. "You did more than that," he said softly. "You just proved that you can do what no one expected." They didn't know it yet, but the Interstellar Talent Gala was approaching, a competition that would bring the entire city's elite to watch. Lyra's name was sure to be called, and the children who laughed would expect a disaster. Marcus's mind raced with questions and fears. Could she perform under that pressure? Could his human guidance overcome years of ridicule and alien judgment? He didn't have the answers. But as he watched Lyra clutch her satchel, trembling but determined, he knew one thing: failure was not an option. The next challenge would test both of them, and the entire city would be watching. And Marcus, for the first time in years, felt a surge of hope, not just for Lyra but for humans everywhere. The day of the Interstellar Talent Gala came faster than Marcus expected. The city's towers shimmered in gold and violet under twin suns, but beneath the beauty, tension simmered. Alien children whispered about Lyra's performance, mocking her even in hushed tones. Rumors spread: she'll fail. Humans can't teach her. It'll be a disaster. Marcus guided Lyra through the crowded corridors of the grand auditorium. The stage was enormous, a floating platform surrounded by translucent glass walls that projected the city skyline. Judges from across the galaxy, humans, aliens, and hybrid species, were seated in the front rows, their expressions unreadable. The energy was electric, every spectator anticipating the next act, some curious, some skeptical, and many outright dismissive of a small human guiding a fragile alien girl. "You're ready," Marcus said softly, gripping her small hands. "Remember everything we practiced. Listen to the room, not the whispers." Lyra nodded, but her body trembled. Her voice was small, her alien vocal cords untested under such pressure. Every step onto the stage felt like walking across a cliff with no guardrails. Marcus could see her fear, and he felt it too, but he refused to let it control them. The first performers took the stage, dazzling the audience with alien precision and sound manipulation. Lyra watched, her stomach twisting. Some children produced sounds impossible for humans to comprehend. Light and music intertwined in ways that made even the judges lean forward, impressed. She could barely imagine performing among such talent. Her fingers shook as she gripped the microphone, and the crowd murmured at the tiny, trembling alien in human-guided tutelage. Marcus stepped forward. "Focus on your breath. Don't think about them. Think about me, your rhythm, the music we made." He held her eyes, steady and encouraging. "You're ready for this. I've seen you do the impossible. Now show them." But the moment was shattered by chaos. A flicker of the auditorium lights, a hum from the main sound system. It failed. Alien performers froze mid-note, some squeaking in frustration. The judges whispered urgently. Panic rippled through the audience. The gala organizers scrambled, but it was clear: the system would not reboot in time. The show teetered on the brink of disaster. Marcus's mind raced. Every second counted. Other humans might have hesitated, retreating in fear. But Marcus didn't. He saw opportunity in chaos. Using his maintenance tools and his knowledge of energy systems, he quickly traced the failure. The auditorium's sound circuits had overloaded. There was no time for full repairs, but he could improvise. He grabbed spare wires from a maintenance closet and rerouted energy from the stage lights to power a portable sound transmitter. It wasn't perfect, it would distort the audio slightly, but it would allow Lyra's voice to carry. "Marcus." Lyra's voice quivered. "What's happening?" "Trust me," he said firmly. "I've got this. You just sing." Her eyes widened, uncertainty battling courage. Marcus knelt briefly beside her, whispering, "You don't need perfect sound. You need heart. They'll feel it if you believe it." Taking a deep breath, Lyra stepped onto the platform. Her first notes wobbled, barely audible. Alien judges leaned forward, skeptical. The audience murmured. Marcus tapped his hand in rhythm, projecting confidence and stability. Slowly, Lyra's voice began to stabilize. She found the rhythm Marcus had taught her, translating it through her alien vocal cords into something humans could perceive yet still utterly alien. The tension was palpable. Every note she struck carried risk. One misstep, one slip, and the ridicule would come crashing down. Marcus's own heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to falter. He adjusted the transmitter in real time, careful to amplify without distortion, constantly calculating how to keep her voice clear. Minutes felt like hours. The first chorus ended, and for a moment the auditorium was silent. Then, softly, other performers clapped, but hesitantly. The alien children who had mocked her stared in shock. Judges whispered among themselves, their brows furrowed. Lyra's voice, guided by human patience and ingenuity, was defying expectations. Marcus's pulse surged as Lyra took a final high note. She hesitated, her chest heaving. He moved closer, steadying her with a glance. "Finish it. You can do this." She did. The note lingered in the air, resonating through the floating crystal walls of the auditorium. It was imperfect yet breathtaking. The combination of her alien voice and Marcus's guidance created a sound no one had imagined possible. A harmony that bridged species, a song of courage and resilience. The judges whispered furiously. The audience, shocked at first, began to murmur, then cheer. Some aliens gasped, unable to hide admiration. Marcus smiled slightly, pride and relief flooding him, but he knew the night was far from over. This was just the first test. The bigger challenge awaited, the finale where every eye, every expectation, every prejudice would fall upon Lyra. He held her hands as she stepped off stage briefly. Her large eyes shimmered with tears. Did I do it right?" she asked, voice trembling. "You did more than right," Marcus said. "You just made them feel something no one thought a human and alien could create together." A shadow fell across the stage lights, a subtle, ominous flicker. Marcus noticed it immediately. Something was still wrong in the auditorium circuitry, something beyond his improvised fix. If it failed during the finale, the entire performance, and Lyra's chance to prove herself, could collapse. Marcus's jaw tightened. He had solved one problem, but another was coming, unseen, waiting to test both their courage and ingenuity. He looked at Lyra, determination hardening in his chest. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Failure was not an option. And somewhere in the back of the room, a figure from Lythra's ruling council, known for harsh judgments, leaned forward, intrigued, but Marcus couldn't see the smile that hinted at danger. The auditorium buzzed with nervous energy as Lyra stepped back onto the stage. Marcus watched from the wings, eyes scanning the room. Something still felt off. The improvised sound system was stable for now, but the circuits that powered the stage lights flickered faintly, like a warning. One wrong move and everything could collapse. Her performance, their chance, even their credibility. Lyra's small hands trembled around the microphone. The judges' faces were unreadable, though Marcus sensed their skepticism. Some leaned forward, curious, while others whispered among themselves. Alien children who had laughed at her earlier snickered again, confident this time that disaster was inevitable. "Remember the rhythm," Marcus whispered, crouched beside her. "Focus on what we built, not the noise around you. You can control this." Her eyes locked on his and she nodded. She had learned to trust him, though fear still lingered. Marcus could feel it in the tiny quiver of her shoulders, the way her breath caught at every cheer and whisper. He knew she had never faced anything like this before. He had never faced anything like it either, not at this scale. The first notes she sang were tentative. Marcus adjusted the transmitter again, twisting a wire and tapping the battery line. The sound was cleaner now, but something in the building's main energy conduit thrummed irregularly. Sparks flew from one of the suspended light panels. A small hiss of smoke rose. Panic rippled across the audience. Lyra froze, wide-eyed. "Marcus, what's happening?" "I've got it," he said, though his voice was tighter than usual. "Don't stop. Just sing." Marcus acted quickly. Using his human ingenuity, he climbed onto the lower stage framework, avoiding the floating platform's hover fields. With steady hands, he tapped into the emergency power relays built into the floor, a risky move. One wrong connection, and the stage could short-circuit entirely, plunging the hall into darkness and ending Lyra's performance before it truly began. He rerouted energy carefully, redirecting the excess current from the flickering lights directly into the portable sound system. Sparks flew and heat hissed, but Marcus's focus never wavered. His mind raced through formulas, diagrams, and maintenance schematics he had memorized over years of human work in alien machinery. Humans were not stronger, faster, or naturally gifted like many aliens, but what they had Marcus knew well: creativity, problem-solving, and courage under pressure. From below, he saw Lyra take a deep breath. Her voice quivered again, then steadied. Each note she struck now carried a strange resonance, not just from her vocal cords, but from Marcus's adjustments to the stage energy, amplifying her sound in ways neither species had attempted before. It was raw, imperfect, and breathtaking. But then the lights flickered again, harder this time. One of the floating panels shuddered, leaning dangerously over the edge of the platform. The audience gasped. Judges froze. Alien children screamed in fear. Lyra's eyes widened, panic threatening to break through her focus. Marcus didn't flinch. He leapt onto the hovering panel, pressing against it with all his strength to stabilize it while holding a live wire with one hand. Sparks flew across the stage, searing heat brushing his arm, but he didn't stop. Every calculation, every instinct, every ounce of human determination guided his actions. "Marcus," Lyra cried, "you'll get hurt." He smiled through the sweat and smoke. Not if we finish this together. She hesitated for only a moment. Then she sang. Her alien voice, guided by his rhythm and amplified by his quick thinking, soared. The notes twisted and bent in the air, weaving through the hall in patterns that made the audience hold their breath. Even the skeptical noble from Lithra's council straightened, unable to hide intrigue. The impossible was happening. Marcus's human ingenuity had turned a near disaster into an opportunity. Lyra's voice, raw and alien, flowed through the improvised system like a bridge between worlds. It was something no one had ever heard before. Some audience members leaned forward, unsure if they were witnessing music or magic. But the danger wasn't over. One more spark, one misstep, and the panel could fall, crushing the stage or cutting power completely. Marcus held his position, teeth gritted, sweat dripping into his eyes. His mind calculated the risk. If he shifted weight slightly to the right, the panel's balance would stabilize long enough for Lyra to finish. If he misjudged, it would collapse entirely. He moved. The panel held. Lyra continued, eyes wide, following the rhythm they had created together. Her confidence grew with each note. Marcus's heart pounded, not with fear but pride. Humans had always been underestimated in Erinder, dismissed as weak, slow, or insignificant. Yet here he was, a single human father, saving a performance that could defy prejudice and inspire everyone watching. Finally she reached the climactic note. Marcus stabilized the panel one last time, the final energy reroute holding steady. The sound carried perfectly across the hall, reverberating through every wall and crystal surface. The audience fell silent. The note lingered, long and haunting, before fading into an echo that seemed to vibrate in their very bones. Marcus stepped back, chest heaving as the panel finally settled safely. Lyra's hands shook as she gripped the microphone. Her eyes met his, filled with awe and gratitude. "We did it," she whispered. "Yes," he said softly, voice steady despite exhaustion. "We did it together." From the back of the hall, a murmur rippled. The Lythran noble's gaze had sharpened, a glimmer of respect, or was it calculation? Marcus didn't know. He only knew this. The twist they had faced had been survived not by strength or size, but by human courage, ingenuity, and determination. And he realized with a sinking thrill that the real challenge was yet to come. The finale awaited, where every eye, every expectation, and every prejudice would fall upon Lyra. Marcus squared his shoulders. Whatever came next, humans would not fail. The auditorium was electric. Every eye was fixed on the floating stage where Lyra, small and trembling, prepared for the finale. Marcus watched from the wings, pulse hammering, sweat streaking his face. He knew the finale would define everything. Her reputation, his reputation, and the perception of humans in Erinder. No room for error. The audience was silent, a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and anticipation. Alien children whispered, judging, human spectators held their breath. Judges leaned forward, expressions unreadable. Lyra's hands shook on the microphone, but Marcus could see the flicker of determination in her eyes. She had survived the chaos, the technical failures, the ridicule, and now all that remained was her courage. "Remember," Marcus whispered, kneeling at the stage edge. "This is your story. Sing it for yourself, for all of us who believe in you. I'll guide you." She inhaled sharply and began. Her voice was fragile at first, hesitant, yet infused with a raw honesty that cut through the hall. Marcus tapped a steady rhythm with his hand, projecting confidence. Every note, every pause was deliberate. He could feel the tension in the room, the weight of every eye on them, and he embraced it. Humans thrived under impossible odds. This was the moment to prove it. Lyra's voice grew, a haunting melody that carried not just sound but emotion. Fear, hope, loneliness, courage, they all blended together in her alien tone, and the audience was caught off guard. They weren't expecting beauty. They weren't expecting power. But here it was, in full force, guided by human precision and care. Marcus kept one hand near the portable sound system, adjusting for subtle shifts in volume, recalibrating mid-performance. Sparks flickered faintly from a loose panel above, but he ignored it. One misstep, one distraction, and everything could collapse, but he refused to falter. Humans were not naturally stronger or faster than aliens here, but ingenuity, courage, and determination made them formidable. The judges leaned in, alien eyes widening. Lyra's notes twisted in ways that no one thought possible, her alien voice bending through the human-tuned rhythm Marcus had taught her. It was extraordinary, a sound no species had heard before. Whispers of awe began to ripple through the audience. Children who had mocked her stared, mouths open, unable to comprehend what they were hearing. Marcus felt a surge of pride, but he didn't relax. He could sense the tension building in Lyra. She was reaching the limits of her voice, struggling with a high note that could break her control. One wrong pitch and the performance could unravel. He moved closer, giving her an anchor, a human presence to ground her. "You can do this," he whispered. "You've made it this far. Finish it strong." Lyra inhaled, closed her eyes and pushed herself beyond fear. Her final note soared, carrying both alien resonance and human-guided rhythm. The crystal walls of the auditorium vibrated, reflecting the sound across the floating hall. It was raw, imperfect, and perfect all at once. A silence fell, thick and heavy, before the echoes faded. The first reaction was disbelief. Judges stared, mouths open. Alien nobles whispered among themselves, incredulous. The children who had laughed at her earlier froze. Marcus held his breath, knowing they were witnessing something extraordinary, human ingenuity and guidance transforming doubt into awe. Then, slowly, applause erupted. A few humans in the audience clapped first, tentative but loud enough to break the tension. Alien children followed, hesitantly at first, then with growing excitement. Judges nodded, murmuring in admiration. Even the Lythran noble in the back leaned forward, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Marcus allowed himself a small smile, pride swelling. Lyra stepped back, trembling, face shining with tears. She looked at Marcus. Did I do it?" she asked, voice quivering. "Yes," he said, voice steady though his heart still pounded. "You didn't just do it. You changed what they believed was possible." The gala organizers hurried to record her performance. Social media feeds across Arinder buzzed instantly. Clips of her singing, guided by a human father, began circulating. People shared it in shock, admiration, even disbelief. A single human, small and often overlooked, had guided an alien girl to shatter expectations and awe an entire city. Marcus looked at her, eyes glistening. "You see now?" he asked. "Humans can make a difference. Not because we're stronger, but because we don't give up." Lyra nodded, swallowing tears. She had learned more than music. She had learned courage, trust, and the power of guidance. She had been laughed at, underestimated, and dismissed, yet together they had proven the impossible was possible. But Marcus knew the ripple of their success would reach far beyond the auditorium. Humans in Arinder were often dismissed as weak or insignificant. Tonight, one human had stood up to fear, guided the overlooked, and changed perceptions forever. That was the HFY truth. Courage, intelligence, and morality could carve a place in a galaxy that didn't value you, if you dared to act. As the applause continued, Marcus felt something rare in his life: hope. Not just for Lyra but for humans everywhere. He had faced impossible odds, solved problems others deemed unsolvable, and now the world was watching. Yet, amid the cheers he sensed the shadows of new challenges. Admiration often bred jealousy. Not everyone would celebrate this moment. Some would try to undo it, to prove that humans were still inferior. Marcus tightened his jaw, ready for whatever came next. Tonight, however, there was only triumph. Lyra's voice had soared, human courage had shone, and the impossible had been achieved. The final note echoed, not just in the hall, but across the city and the minds of every spectator who had witnessed it. Marcus stood beside Lyra, hands still trembling, and whispered, "We've made them believe in what humans can do." She smiled through her tears. "Then, what's next?" Marcus looked out at the glittering skyline of Arinder, knowing the true test was only beginning. But for now humans had won. And that was enough. The applause still echoed in the crystal walls of the auditorium when Marcus guided Lyra off the stage. Her legs trembled from exertion, her voice raw but triumphant. He held her small hands, feeling the warmth of her trust, the unspoken gratitude. They had survived the impossible, the ridicule, the technical chaos, and the pressure of an entire city's expectations. But the night wasn't just about surviving, it was about leaving a mark that no one could ignore. The judges rose, signaling the end of the gala. Their expressions were solemn at first, but one by one, they began nodding in approval. Marcus noticed the Lythran noble in the back, a man notorious for harsh judgment, leaning forward, lips pressed tight, yet eyes glinting with admiration. He hadn't expected a human to succeed here. But he had witnessed ingenuity, courage, and guidance bending what was thought impossible. Marcus allowed himself a quiet, satisfied smile. Lyra's alien classmates approached cautiously, unsure how to respond. Some whispered apologies, others stared in awe. One of the older children, the one who had led the mocking, extended a hand. I didn't think you could do it," he admitted. Lyra smiled shyly, her confidence tempered by humility. Marcus's heart swelled. She was learning not just music but resilience and grace. The gala organizers hurried to capture the moment, streaming it across the city's network. Holoscreens lit up every corner of Erinder, replaying the image of a small alien girl guided by a single human father. Humans across the city paused to watch, some in disbelief, others in pride. For years, humans had been overlooked, dismissed as weak or irrelevant in a world dominated by alien species. But tonight, one human had defied that perception. Marcus, Lyra whispered, her voice steady now yet full of wonder. We really did it, didn't we? Yes, he said. And remember this feeling. Not just the applause but the courage it took to get here. You didn't just sing, you made everyone see what's possible. Her eyes glistened and Marcus could see the transformation. The girl who had been mocked and abandoned now stood proud, her confidence radiating outward. It was a lesson in courage, persistence, and trust. Humans may not have been the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced in Erinder, but ingenuity and determination gave them an edge that no technology or natural ability could match. Word of their achievement spread quickly. Reports of the human father guiding an alien girl to a groundbreaking performance appeared across holo networks, accompanied by clips of her final soaring notes. Comments from viewers praised not only Lyra's voice but Marcus's calm leadership, his inventive mind, and his moral courage. Humans and aliens alike marveled at the unusual partnership. The next day the school called Marcus in, not for reprimand but for acknowledgement. They spoke in hushed tones, careful not to alarm the alien bureaucrats, yet clearly impressed. Marcus Hale, the principal began, your dedication and ingenuity set a standard for interspecies cooperation. You have shown that humans are not only capable but extraordinary when they apply their courage and intelligence. Marcus nodded quietly, humility tempering pride. He had not sought recognition. He had sought only to help a child who needed him. And yet, in doing so, he had elevated humans in the eyes of an entire city. It was proof that the HFY ideal, humans shining in impossible circumstances, was real, tangible, and visible to all. Lyra, meanwhile, became a symbol of possibility. Her performance inspired not just other alien children but human children as well. Schools across Erinder began programs to foster interspecies collaboration, teaching aliens and humans to work together, learn from one another, and recognize potential where others saw weakness. Marcus watched with quiet satisfaction, knowing he had planted a seed that could grow far beyond one night. As days passed, Marcus and Lyra continued their music sessions, now without mockery or doubt. Their partnership had grown into something more profound than teacher and student. It was trust, respect, and shared triumph. Lyra laughed freely now, unburdened by ridicule. Her voice continued to improve, stronger and richer each day, guided by human patience and precision. One evening Marcus stood by the central square, watching Lyra play on her new keyboard. Children gathered around, some human, some alien, all captivated by the music. Marcus felt a rare sense of belonging. Humans had often been outsiders here, but tonight he realized they could be innovators, leaders, and heroes. Courage, ingenuity, and morality had changed perceptions, not through force but through action and heart. He smiled as Lyra finished a particularly complex melody, the notes hanging in the warm evening air. That was amazing, he said. You've come so far. I couldn't have done it without you, she replied, eyes bright. Marcus shook his head, humility in his smile. You did it yourself. I just reminded you of what you already had. For the first time in years Marcus felt hope, deep, unshakable hope. Not just for Lyra, not just for himself, but for humans everywhere. In a city of alien marvels, humans could still shine. They could still rise, guide, inspire, and triumph. They could show that courage, intelligence, and heart were worth more than sheer numbers or natural advantage. And as the city lights of Erinder shimmered against the night sky, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, skepticism to overcome, and obstacles too complex to predict. But for tonight, humans had proved their worth. One human father and one alien girl had rewritten what was possible. The story of Marcus Hale and Lyra would be told and retold, a testament to human ingenuity, determination, and courage, a beacon of HFY for all who doubted. And somewhere in the audience that night, a Lythran noble scribbled a note. Humans had made him rethink everything. Marcus looked at Lyra, smiling. Ready for the next challenge? She grinned back. Always. Together, human and alien, they had turned impossibility into triumph, and the galaxy had taken notice.